friends, welcome back to Crime Adjacent Season 8, the case of the Michigan Nightstalker. Here's where things stand. 4 murders, 2 days. That was the problem facing Sheriff Morgan Press and all the people of Petoskey and Walloon in late September 2024. The clown creepings had stopped. Press was grateful for that and considered it evidence that it was, indeed, Tim Meeks behind all of those. Or, I guess, Meeks and his accomplice, Roger Michaels. But the thing is, people kept dying in Petoskey. Just that morning, Sunday, Bill Coffey had been murdered. But at the time of this killing, Michaels was already dead himself. Meeks was already captured and in jail. So Press and Swanson were at a loss. Who killed Bill Coffey and why? That day, we discovered a new suspect, a local high schooler no one ever suspected. I need to be clear, this wasn't our guy, not for the murders anyway, but he would lead us to who was. Here's the story. But first, almost there, folks. Just a few more episodes before we hit the road with a series of live shows. Austin, Portland, San Francisco, the other Portland, Memphis, you name it. Nikki and I will discuss some of the wilder cases we've encountered with you, our friends in true crime. So pop on over to the Patreon page, patreon.com/crimeadjacent, to keep up to date and hear behind-the-scenes details. I can't wait to see you in person. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime story told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. On Sunday afternoon, September 29, 2024, Emily Willis, age 16 and a senior at the high school and best friend of Dorian Block, put on her marching band outfit and attended practice as usual. She played the trumpet, which she was grateful for. It was much lighter than the students who chose the sousaphone, that great big wearable tuba. Plus, she was good at it. She liked it, loved it. In fact, like her friend Dorian, she was accepted to the University of Michigan and was hoping for a shot at the marching band, which is a nationally recognized program with amazing halftime shows. But that day, she was hesitant. Believe me, Willis recounted in an interview later, I couldn't get it out of my head that this is exactly how Dorian must have felt. Scared, dread, just freaked out of my mind. Because just like her friend Dorian, someone had begun sending her messages. Weird messages. Nope, that's not it. Threatening messages. After Dorian's death, someone had hacked into her iPhone and scoured the device for any incriminating or embarrassing tidbits of info, and they began sending these to Emily, threatening to expose her if she didn't do exactly as asked. At first, Emily thought it was spam or a cruel joke. After all, her friend, Dorian, had died by suicide just a few weeks earlier after someone began blackmailing her as well. Although Sheriff Press could never prove blackmail and had to drop the case for lack of evidence, Emily knew deep down that it happened, that her friend had been blackmailed and bullied into suicide no less. Emily believed this mostly because the same thing was now happening to her. The messages began on Thursday that week, right about the time the clown creepings really took off. But again, Emily chalked it up to a cruel joke or spam. The message said to do as asked, no questions, or else the hacker would release information found on her phone. Emily rattled through a list of possibilities. Photos, she had nothing even remotely sexual or embarrassing. Videos, no. Texts, no. But then she saw it. A photo, or I guess a screenshot of a group she had joined and become a member in. I'm not going to share this group or give any more details, but suffice it to say, it was enough. Emily was freaked. She didn't want anyone to know about it. She thought it would change her life in a bad way, and that's all she wants me to say about it, so there we are. The point is, like I said, it was enough. She said yes, she would do exactly as this person on the phone wanted her to do. She replied and then waited. And waited, and waited, and then nothing. Nothing happened. She thought the coast was clear as the days went by. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the whole town was consumed by the clown and the murders, and she just forgot, thought it was over. But then, that Sunday morning, a message suddenly appeared on her phone. Meet at this address at this time. Come alone. Be prepared for sex and tell absolutely no one, or else. Emily was terrified. This wasn't sex, or not as she dreamed it would go. This was something else altogether, something at 16 she didn't know how to deal with. She said, I got the message and immediately thought of Dor. I knew exactly how she felt and why, and honestly, I got it. I need to pause here. These are kids. This is not sex. This is bad, and we need to talk about it. Emily and her parents agreed to this interview with sparse details because they wanted to hammer home this point in particular. Tell someone, a trusted adult, no matter what, no matter how bad you think it might be. If this happens to you, tell a trusted adult. You're not alone, and it's not your fault. In fact, in 2022, the FBI put out a national bulletin saying it deals with more than 7,000 cases of possible sextortion of minors each year, with at least 3,000 known victims each year, primarily young boys. And more than a dozen of these victims ended up, like Dorian, dying by suicide. This is why Emily and her parents agreed to talk, to help destigmatize these very common events. I say common only to hammer home the point that this is happening more and more, according to the FBI, and victims of this need nothing but support and help. The FBI says fake accounts target minors, hack their phones, or, more likely, establish an online relationship that feels real, and then they get the minors to send incriminating photos, which are then used to blackmail the minors for even more. Kids, if you're listening, or safe adults who might also be dealing with this, the FBI says it's very common for everyone to feel shame or embarrassment and feel like there's no escape. The blackmailers rely on that. But there is escape. You've done nothing wrong. Bad people are doing bad things, and it's not your fault. And safe adults in your life will understand and be happy to help. That weekend, at first, Emily did not, in fact, tell her parents. She told no one. She said that Sunday, Emily sort of went through the motions. She had a family breakfast and said she was feeling a little under the weather and sad. Her parents chalked it up to her sadness at the loss of her friend, Dorian, who had died just a few weeks prior. She went to band practice. She said it felt like she was a zombie with the internal countdown going on in her brain, like she was counting down the minutes until her dreadful meeting with this mysterious internet hacker. Although, the thing is, she had an address now, a place to meet, a home, and she knew exactly who lived there. Bill LaBoa, her classmate. It was, oddly, she said, a relief in a small, horrible way. She knew who her hacker was, at least, and at least it wasn't some stranger who would do things and sell her off to sexual slavery cartels that her parents were always going on and on about after the nightly news broadcast. She felt that once she got to his house, she could reason with him. She knew this person, had interacted with him, and yet she was still completely freaked. What if she couldn't reason with him? What if he was the monster she and Dorian had always thought he was? Or maybe, she thought, they would do this thing once and she'd be done and free and she could just forget about it. She said she was consumed all day by these constant, horrible, conflicting thoughts. Part of her, she said later, wanted to kill him. Then it would be over. For her. For Dorian. But then she thought of the information he had and she just froze. Emily said, I just felt so alone and embarrassed and scared. After band practice, she walked slowly through town, past her house. It was almost time for her meeting. She walked past the house on Clinton Street where people were gathered outside with crime scene tape and news vans and cops. She remembers glibly thinking to herself, probably another murder. She didn't know that Bill Coffey had just been killed inside that very home. And she didn't know, while walking down the sidewalk in a dreadful, dazed, teary-eyed trance, she was being watched. Not by the hacker, Not by Bill Laboa, but by Deputy Swanson. Swanson wrote in her official report later what she saw. Teenager, scared, nervous, about the same age as Dorian. I was afraid for the subject's personal safety, and so I intervened. This was the moment, standing on the porch, that Deputy Swanson dropped her vape and bolted away from the house and down the street and around the corner, where she saw Emily walking slowly, zombie-like, down the street. Swanson stopped Emily on the street, asking if anything was wrong. Emily said no, she was fine, and started to walk away. Swanson said the only thing she could think of at the time, the thing she wished someone had said to Dorian just weeks ago. Swanson thought of Dorian and Mr. Rodman and Mrs. O'Hara, and she had a feeling, standing there, looking at this terrified little girl in front of her, that she was staring at the next victim. She had to do something. And so Swanson shouted, "Someone hacked your phone, right?" Emily froze. She turned, her eyes frisbeed. Swanson said she knew what was happening and that she could help. She told Emily about Jimmy and how Jimmy had said that Emily might be willing to help, that she'd do anything to help avenge her friend, Dorian. The more Swanson talked, the more Emily relaxed, and the more she went from alone and scared to seen. And, in the end, furious. She clenched her hands at her sides and told Swanson everything. That she began receiving blackmail messages, that the person told her to meet that afternoon and to not tell anyone. It felt so good to say it, to tell someone. Emily said she felt trapped, like she didn't know what to do. Swanson, however, knew exactly what to do. She grabbed Emily's phone and started typing. "We're going to nail this guy once and for all. Are you with me?" Emily nodded. Just like Jimmy had said she would be, Emily was all in, all the way. The plan was simple. Instead of walking to his house, Emily said she had an emergency, but that she wasn't backing out. In fact, she would meet him later that night at the public dock on Walloon Lake. It's become something of a secret lover's lane spot after dark where young couples can park along one of the side roads and watch the water and stars. Emily said she would meet him there instead at 10 p.m. and that she'd come alone and do whatever he wanted. Swanson saw the hacker replied immediately with exactly what she was hoping for. A threat. "You better be there, or else." Sheriff Press, Deputy Swanson, and Emily spent the rest of the day talking to her parents. This was the hardest part for her, telling them. Again, they agreed to be part of this story to help others in a similar situation find a way out, to seek help. So I want to be extra clear here. They said the conversations were difficult that afternoon. But in the end, when they think about it, it wasn't really that bad. Emily said she was relieved to tell them and to have help from adults, to know she wasn't alone. Emily's parents said they were worried for her and wanted her to be safe. They weren't mad and there were no repercussions at all. Things turned out fine. I need to be clear on that. Blackmailers and sextortionists, they prey on isolation and fear. When the reality is, Emily turned out fine. If there was any hesitation or weirdness at all during this conversation, it was only about Swanson's plan to trap the hacker. Swanson and Press said they would both be there, literally right outside the car. As soon as they identified the hacker, and as soon as Emily got in the car, that's all they needed. They could swoop in, arrest him, on the spot. It would all be over. That was the plan anyway. But sometimes, things don't go as planned, and something incredibly strange happened instead. Emily texted the hacker as planned, a little before 10, saying she was on the way. The hacker, Bill Laboa, said he was already at the dock, waiting in his newer electric BMW, his parents. She'd see it. It was the only car parked along the side of the road. He told her to pull in behind him and get into his car. Again, he said, "Or else." All of this happened exactly as Bill demanded. Emily drove her parents' car to the dock. Swanson was already in the bushes, so was I. The plan involved us doing another stakeout, just like we had done at the cabins, so we could be as close as possible to the car. So we arrived early and hid alongside the road in some bushes. We had been there for hours, waiting, and it turns out we had a great view. Bill parked his car about 10 yards from us. We could see everything. Press was stationed behind the dock, recording the whole thing. And here comes Emily, driving her parents' Subaru down the road and pulling right behind the BMW. She got out of the car and walked slowly to the BMW's passenger side. The electric locks clunked open. We could hear them while we were hiding in the bushes. This was it. Swanson gripped her sidearm at her waist. She tensed forward. I could tell she was ready to spring from the bushes at the very moment Emily opened the door and got into the car. It was time. Emily was so close. She reached for the door handle. And here, listener, is where I need to be clear legally about exactly what happened next. This is my story of what happened as a witness to everything. Remember, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm a freaking podcaster. And I've said earlier that legal proceedings, both civil and criminal, are still continuing in Petoskey, and I'll be called back a few times to testify in various cases as a witness and sometimes participant. So here is exactly what I said then and what I will say. Emily's testimony, I should note, is a spitting image of this. Here's what happened. I thought Swanson was right behind me. I thought she was springing out of the bushes the moment I did, just as Emily opened the passenger door and got into the car. To be safe, just to make sure she was not alone in that car for any amount of time, I opened the rear door and got in at the same time. Again, I thought Swanson was right there, gun drawn, ready to pull Emily out and arrest Bill. That was the plan. But like I said, something strange happened. Emily got into the front passenger seat. The door shut. I got into the rear seat. The door shut. And those electronic locks, they clunked shut. I could hear them again. Emily tried her door handle. I tried my door handle. There was nothing we could do. We were trapped. Emily panicked and punched at the door. On the outside, Swanson was now at the window, pounding on it, shouting, saying she'd break the glass and shoot if the driver didn't open the door. And I'm in the back seat now, watching Bill in the driver's seat go from surprise to confusion to anger to panic himself. Because the thing is, he wasn't in control of the car anymore either. I saw the whole thing. He tried to put the car in drive, but it wouldn't. He tried to open the door himself, but it wouldn't. He tried to punch at every button and pedal available, but nothing happened. In fact, the car suddenly lost power altogether and went eerily quiet. It was at this moment that Bill turned to Emily and screamed, "You are dead." I heard this with my own ears. He threatened her, no doubt. He clearly knew who I was already. After all, he had tried to blackmail locals into beating me up and forcing me out of town. So eventually, he just sort of shook his head and growled, "You two are so screwed. I'm going to destroy you." Again, I need to be clear on this point. He leaned over and grabbed Emily. I saw it. He grabbed her wrist with one arm and tried to grab her neck with his other. Before I could act, Emily Willis, a trumpet player all of 16, whose friend had died because of this guy, who was being blackmailed herself, who was, no doubt, in fear for her life in that cramped car, she started swinging. A right cut to his chin, a left to his throat. His hands were around her neck, and she was now on top of him, raining heavy blows on his eyes and nose and teeth until he loosened his grip and slumped against the door, blood streaking down the window as her elbows and arms and fists crashed into his temples. This was, clearly, self-defense. He threatened her. He put his hands on her, and she fought bravely for her life, swinging and howling, and somehow, I might add, getting her knees into the mix, bringing them up to his chin. I was impressed. I couldn't move from the back seat. Couldn't stop this. It was too cramped. It all happened so fast. With the threat subdued, Emily stopped. She tried to open the door again, but it wouldn't budge. And Bill, for his part, wiped his nose and began to sniffle and whine. He mumbled, "When I get done with you two, you'll be sorry you ever messed with me." But here is where the strange thing really happened. This is when the car suddenly jumped to life. Only, it looked different. The entertainment console in the middle, instead of being colorful or loading a map or CarPlay or something like that, just went green. It looked to me like a scene out of that Matrix movie. It was so strange. And all of us in that car, me, Emily, and Bill, we just froze. Again, this is all in my testimony. Emily's too. A voice suddenly filled the car. It said, "Bill Laboa, you've been a bad, bad boy." And then a face materialized on the screen, but it wasn't human. I mean, it had the semblance of eyes and a mouth which moved when it talked, but again, it was in that weird green Matrix computer image. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe Dorothy, one of the crime-adjacent computer wizards, could. The Matrix was her favorite movie, and I do remember her saying one time that cars could be hacked pretty easily if you knew what you were doing. In fact, I remember she told me the story of a Wired magazine article about a hacking test where journalist Andy Greenberg detailed how his Jeep was hacked, just like this. One minute, he's cruising along the freeway, and the next, the windows roll down. The radio begins to blare. The windshield wipers start to go bananas. And then, also, the image of two men appear on the center console. And the power suddenly cuts, and the car just stops. Fascinating, because it sounded exactly like this, exactly what Dorothy told me cars could do. As soon as we got in the car, we had no more control over the doors or windows. I thought it was Bill Laboa, that little shit, but it turns out he wasn't in control either. This weird face and voice on the center console was. I need to note here, for legal purposes, that the voice and the face merely said, "Hey Bill, you can be hacked too. You better knock it off." I told Swanson and press that's all I heard. In fact, that's what Emily said too. That's all she heard. Bill Laboa, however, had a different story. He said he remembered what happened next quite differently. He said in his initial interviews that the center console suddenly flashed on video footage of his very bedroom, showing all his computers. Then it switched to screenshots of his various bank accounts and cryptocurrency accounts, which sounded really odd, because I didn't see this, and neither did Emily, and what high schooler has several bank accounts anyway? His statements just didn't make any sense. Bill went on, nevertheless, saying whoever had hacked into his car promised that if he didn't take responsibility for all the weird crimes and hacking and hidden cameras and the catfishing and sextortion of Dorian Block and Emily Willis, that all of Bill's secrets, every one, would be put into the open for all to see, and that his parents would also suddenly have evidence against them, and every single one of them would wind up in prison, or worse. And then, according to Bill at least, photos of Bill started appearing on screen. I didn't see this. Emily testified that she didn't either, so who knows if Bill is telling the truth here, or maybe he just had a concussion from the profound beating he had just taken. But I did see, for some reason, that Bill, in the driver's seat, suddenly went white, like a ghost. Something had freaked him out completely, and he started sobbing. And, well, there's no nice or non-embarrassing way to say this, but I'm pretty sure he started peeing himself as well. Okay, he said, make it stop. The electric lock suddenly clunked open. The voice disappeared. The green image vanished. The center console returned to its normal screen just as Swanson grabbed the door handle and swung open the door, pulling Bill out of the car. I did it all, he cried. I hacked Mr. Rodman and the principal and Dorian. I did the cameras and the threats. It was me. Swanson had cuffed him at this point, and she just stood there, watching him, writhing and crying on the ground, admitting to everything, even things she didn't even know about. Swanson looked at Emily and me and said, "What the hell happened?" And we both just shrugged, like something scared him, and we aren't sure what. Both Swanson and Press took our official statements. Then they took Bill's, who continued to admit to every possible crime, except for the murders. I gently reminded him of that voice in the car and whatever had scared him half to death, but Bill wouldn't budge. He was a creepy, disgusting cyber hacker and potential rapist, but not a murderer, he swore. Press and Swanson exchanged a look. If it's not Meeks, or Michaels, or now this guy, then who is it? Who is killing all of Petoskey's realtors? They'd have their answer in just moments, because as they pushed Bill's head low to jam him into a cop car, the police radio alerted. It was dispatch. They just had a call from the Bear River Country Club. It was Wesley Meeks, the bar manager and cousin of Tim Meeks. Wesley had just called 911, saying there had been a break-in and an assault. "It's the clown," he said. "He's here, in the country club, roaming the halls, honking a horn and shouting out a single name over and over again." Next time on Crime Adjacent. The horn again. There was something about it. Wesley Meeks, the bar manager and cousin of Tim Meeks, had just called 911 and said the clown creeper had broken into the country club as Meeks was closing down the bar for the night. The clown approached from behind, hit Meeks on the back of the head, and then, once he was subdued, fled the bar and started wandering the country club, which had a small number of hotel-like rooms for members or guests of big events like weddings. Meeks could hear this clown calling out for someone, but like in a taunting way, like, come out, wherever you are. And the horn, he said he could hear the clown horn echoing honka, honka, honka amidst the late-night empty hallways. It was so strange. Neither Claire, nor Aubrey, nor Aitana had said anything about a clown horn. Only one person had mentioned it. And now, here it was again. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't place my finger on why. If you're enjoying this show, please let me know what you think with a like and review on your favorite listening app. I love to hear from you. From San Francisco, this is Chase Patrick with a reminder, it's not crime, it's crime adjacent. I'll see you next week.